Good morning, everybody. 6:21 a.m., November 7th, 2017. That is Eastern Time. All right, everybody, say hello to Tropical Storm RINA. Overnight last night, if not a little sooner, RINA was officially named for this area right here. We were looking at this yesterday morning with our update, and we were talking about the pressure. Now, the pressure clearly doesn't have to be below 1,000 for Tropical Storm formation. So we were kind of waiting for that 1,000 number. We're at 1,009 as pressure, 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and RINA is now a tropical storm. But once again, the projections and all the spaghetti plots have this thing shooting straight up north and then being picked up by the jet stream influence. And at that point is when we're going to say goodbye to this. But the only thing we need to look out for now are our friends up in the UK and Ireland, because this thing seems to be taking a little bit of a southern dip as opposed to going north over top of it. So we just need to keep an eye on the development. We need to see how strong this thing gets and how much it widens. If you guys remember, once these storms get up to the jet stream, they widen out, almost triple and quadruple their size, and very quickly too. Now, just to recap, that is the wind field expanding due to different winds and cooler water. The water's much cooler up here. Once those tropical temperatures hit cooler waters, they expand. And that's when you see those really wide cloud faces, and that's when you see those really big whipping storms. But then we get to see some of those deep purple colors that we're used to seeing in websites like Tropical Tidbits, which we're going to look at because they are already talking about the formation of Tropical Storm Sean, believe it or not, guys. So they're already looking past this storm, I'm assuming because it's a non-issue to the U.S., and we're already moving on to Sean. Now, really quick, before we move on to that, I want you to take a look at this. This is our typical radar shot that we use a lot. We use this one a lot, our wide range. Now, if you notice RINA here, look at the blue down here. You can see that part spinning almost as a separate entity than the top layer clouds. And what that is that's almost a 3D view. Now picture a tornado sideways. So this would be the surface area, the ocean down in this area spinning. And then if it's like a 3D version of it, and you see an eye wall open up right around there. So picture a 3D picture, like a tube coming straight down from the sky to the surface of the ocean down here, and you could almost get a 3D view of this thing as if it was a big giant tornado. I just thought that was really cool. Figured I'd point that out to you guys. You could see the spin right here. This would be the bottom part, and then if we were to move up in a 3D world straight up to the sky, this would be the top layer here. So this edge here is equivalent to this edge here, connected by your typical line drawings, and we have a 3D image. Really cool. I thought that would be interesting to point out. Now, let's look at what the possibilities for Sean would be. Now, we're going to check this out on a few different models here. First, we'll look at the GFS on Tropical Tidbits. Let's back it up to about today. There we go. So we have RINA right here. We have that system we've been watching coming west to east off the U.S. We'll see what it does when it gets closer to the coast. You could see it beginning to flare out a little bit off into the ocean, so that's actually a good thing. We're going to still watch that, though. We have a lot of lows peeling right off of the jet stream, the dip right here. You see that dip in the jet stream? It's going to bring cool air down to what looks to be the northern parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, areas like that. And Maine clearly will get the cooler weather. I don't know how deep this dip's going to go or how quickly it's moving just quite yet. But we will watch that too, because we're in the time now where the Northeast is going to be looking at snow, especially with our temperatures, guys. So this right here could be a snowmaker, no question about it. That's a pretty significant system right there. And then we have a front wall coming. You could see that forming right there. But what we're really looking for is the action going on still down in the Caribbean. So check this out towards the end of the GFS run. Right there is what's concerning to me, because now the GFS is picking this up. Again, this is the 22nd. If you guys look at that, so take the 22nd minus 7 days. That's how many days out we are from this possible system. But again, guys, this is November 22nd. GFS is showing activity in the South Caribbean. Now, the last couple frames show it in a eastern direction, which is good. Most of the storms that have been forming down here have been pushed in that direction. So that is a good thing, but still very, very much worth watching. Now we're going to check out what the CMC has to say, and the CMC is taking this northeast system a little more seriously, if you can see what I'm saying here. We're at the 7th now. Watch what happens to the northeast here. Right there. That's what's concerning to me around the 16th. So you didn't really see that with the GFS model. That's why we use these different models to get different perspectives. But again, a lot of lows, a lot of low pressure systems moving across the face of the U.S. There's one there. There's another one that kind of whips up. That could dip a lot of cold air down to the northeast. That's what we were looking at with the GFS. Right here's another low system. There was a high pressure. This is pretty significant. And then here's that same storm that the GFS was pointing out just about 8 days sooner, which is pretty interesting. So we have two areas we need to watch closely. In fact, you can see this area being obviously shown to us by the CMC. We can see this actually beginning to form in our water vapor chart in current weather. So we're going to take a look at that really quick before I let you go. But any little shift here, that if this dip, see how this dip widens out and it kind of pulls this system with it out into the Atlantic. If this happens any sooner, that may release pressure and allow this thing to come up, like we were talking about creating another nor'easter in the northeast. So again, this is why we continue to watch these tropical systems here. And then by the 16th, we could have our own separate system, more than likely a snowmaker at this point with the cold temperatures we're getting right off the northeast. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So finally, let's take a look at our water vapor chart. Alright, and now with this chart here, this is our water vapor chart. This measures the density of water in the current clouds. What I want you to watch are the last couple frames here. You see this building up down here? That's what we look for when we start to begin to notice possible areas for tropical depressions. When you see these storms starting to explode, they all puff up through the middle, they all connect to each other, they start grouping together, and then you see that center vortex begin. It starts pulling warm air up from the middle. The warm air rises through the middle of these systems, and that pulls in new air around the sides, and that's when you see the expansion. So this is the beginning of it here. Also, this big system that's over Dominican Republic, just parallel to the Bahamas, to the east of Cuba, and just to the west of Puerto Rico here. This is also something to watch, because if you notice, that momentum is swinging up this way, and it's beginning to show that counterclockwise motion. Now this water's warm enough to sustain a possible tropical depression, and we clearly know we don't necessarily need that, because we have storms like Rina forming way out in the middle of the Atlantic. So all depending on the pressures here, you could see a clear momentum west to east across at least the mid part of the US here. And that's where you're seeing those low pressures popping up nonstop and then out into the Atlantic. So hopefully the momentum here keeps this thing away from the coast. But any of these systems here, this one here that's in the Bahamas area just above Dominican Republic, or this one that's beginning to form here that may be potential Sean. We're already in S, and then Tammy would be next. One of the subs down below, part of his name is Swan. Younger kid, awesome video he made pointing out 3 separate storms in the Atlantic Ocean. I thought that was really cool to see that. He was using tropical tidbits, and he does it for document purposes. He wants to show everyone before it disappeared, so he didn't sound crazy, and I thought that was really cool. So, sorry I forgot the rest of your name, man. I know it's Swan. He's got the black swan in his logo. Tell him we all said thank you for his work, and that was really cool. So anyway, 2 systems, one here, one here. This one is more likely to become Sean, if at all. This one could be a nor'easter maker, but hopefully the momentum stays and it pushes it out into the Atlantic. Also, I showed you guys a picture on the thumbnail of TJ Dillashaw knocking out Cody Garbrandt, and I just thought that was wonderful. I'm a big UFC fan. I watched that pay-per-view over the weekend, and it was just nice seeing TJ Dillashaw get his belt back and then deny Cody Garbrandt a rematch because he had to wait 1.5 years for his rematch. So anyway, for those of you that are UFC fans, you will respect that. And besides that, guys, we are all done for today. I hope you enjoyed the update. I will bring you anything significant this afternoon. If not, then tomorrow morning is another day. All right, guys, enjoy it. I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.